In this video, we're going to go over a case study of a recent client of mine, Pedro. In 3 weeks, he went through 3 interview processes, passed all of them, and he got a 94k remote US job from Brazil. We will go in detail of his struggles with imposter syndrome, the job search, and his situation before working together. Next, we will talk about his experience during the program and his favorite part about our help. And of course, we will talk about the results and how he achieved them. Enjoy. The first question is, where were you before working with me?
I was 2 months since my contract had ended, was applying to jobs kind of, I'm not going to say randomly, but without actually knowing what I was doing. And really in a place where I was kind of like really doubting myself, not knowing if my years of experience were an asset or they were working against me, if I'm like maybe too old. Why are these companies not calling me for interviews? The same going into interviews and hoping for the best. Why doesn't this work anymore? It used to. So like super high imposter syndrome. So really questioning my ability to even get a job like in the same level that I was before. Since my background is basically self-taught, this imposter syndrome stuff has been kind of followed me throughout my whole career. On my first jobs, I was like this self-taught guy, got an opportunity and started learning on the job. Even though I was able to do a lot of stuff and even grow in the company where I was working, there was always this feeling on the back of my head that I was like, I don't have technical knowledge enough. My experience is purely practical. So you kind of feel like at any point in time, someone or some situation is going to put you on the spot. You don't have the knowledge to handle that. And like, it's all going to fall apart. At the same time that you have a lot of gaps, you don't know how to fill those gaps because if you just sit down and start studying whatever, like algorithms, computer science stuff, it doesn't feel like you're filling the gap. So you just like go with the flow, but at the same time, you can do your job. You can create like entire applications. You can deliver features. You can solve bugs. You can do everything, but that's not enough proof that you are good enough. I've kind of always felt that the knowledge base that I built on one job, it's not like you can actually carry that to the next one. It always feels like you're restarting. It's a bit of imposter syndrome, but it's also true that the weakest your fundamentals are, the more it's going to feel like you're starting again. If you change stack, if you go to a different industry now, like it feels like you're learning everything again.
So these feelings come up before you walk into an interview.
It kind of feels like you can do the requirements that are expected, and you cannot tell if you don't fill the requirements for the job or just for the interview. The bar feels super high on interviews, and then you get the job and it's a normal developer job. You don't understand why the hiring process was the way it was, because you don't need to know that stuff to do your job. You don't need to be like solving like specific algorithms in 25 minutes. You're not going to use that. Like, I mean, okay, companies have to have a way of filtering people and testing people. It's a whole different skill preparing for interviews. One of the things that made me decide to seek for help, and even the first time I reached out to you and started talking about like asking how it was to work with you and all of that, it was because I kind of, okay, if I spend the rest of my career saying that interviews are not actually, they don't test for the skills that you actually need for the job, I'm going to continue to like only rely on pure luck. If you keep denying that the process is not fair or whatever, okay, but if that's what's separating me from being confident that I can get the job that I want, if that goes wrong, I can get a better one next time, or if I don't fit in with the company, if I'm looking for change, if I want to make more money, I have to like work through that process. If I just keep saying that the process doesn't make sense, a lot of things don't make sense. You have to go through that to get where you want. So whatever, it doesn't need to make sense. You just need to like learn the game and play it, whatever.
What are your biggest concerns before we actually worked together?
In the long term, I would say that my concern was that I was not going to be able to get a job with the same compensation that I was getting before, because right before I lost my last job, it was the first one that I was getting paid in US dollars. So before that, I was just working local companies in Brazil, and the salary difference is insane, like 4 or 5x. I was afraid that I was not going to be able to keep getting new jobs, international jobs, remote jobs paid in US dollars. And that kind of my career was basically going back to what it was before I had the chance. And I was like telling myself 2022, it was a bubble. Tech jobs are like 50% the amount that they were in 2022. Maybe that I'm just not gonna get it. That was kind of a long-term concern. And in the short term, it was like, I don't know how to pass on these processes, and I don't know if what I'm trying to improve, if that is actually time well spent. Should I be going crazy on like system design and understanding these concepts, or should I be spending a lot of time on algorithms like lead code stuff? I don't know, like the time that I spent like super focusing on like lead code and these challenges, it never paid off. Even though I learned a lot of things, I'm not gonna say it's useless. I think it's actually super important to have a good algorithmic foundation, but it never paid off in terms of interviews. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a lot of this stuff. I'm creating my projects. I'm doing this and that. And the realization that I had was that this is not helping me even get the first call. And then you go on LinkedIn and you start reading stuff and you see, okay, maybe I'm falling on this trap. I'm applying to jobs. People don't even see my resume. But at the same time, you start questioning yourself. No, maybe they do see. Maybe people are looking at it and it's not good. So I had a bunch of questions. I don't know where to put my effort. So that was like a big concern for me because like time was passing by and it's like, and I'm like, okay, am I actually making progress? Or I'm just like moving sideways and not going anywhere.
I totally get it. Like many people like feel stuck. They feel like sort of stagnant in that way. But what made you decide to like trust me and be like, okay, yeah, Alex is the guy that can help me out? What made you like take this jump?
One thing is that I started looking at your posts and they honestly felt super authentic because like there's like, I don't know, maybe hundreds of folks on LinkedIn saying that I helped this guy go from 100K to 150K. I did this and that. And it honestly feel like a lot of standard stuff that people kind of, I don't know, a lot of this sort of programs or mentorships and things like that show up on my feed. I honestly, most of them I just scroll past because I look at this as like, I don't know, it just feels like this guy wanna sell a course and that's it. Their stuff kept showing up. I started following and then I started reading stuff, looking at like comments and looking at the content, and it just kind of felt more authentic for me. It kind of grew into me that I like to read your posts, and that felt like a good direction. I would read some of the tips you're giving, even like applying some changes to small tweaks on my resume, and I actually felt like that made a difference. So I was like, okay, this guy's like, it feels like he knows what he's doing. It feels trustworthy. And then I decided, okay, maybe at some point I kind of realized that I wanted to invest on something that could actually help me on my job search. But then you kind of don't know, okay, but what is like, do I need a one-on-one program? Do I need a course? What is happening? Because when you start looking at it, most things, it just feels like people want you to pay them to tell you what you already know. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, what is going on, right? And I kind of could see some of those guys like on LinkedIn, like posting kind of the same things, trying to show that maybe they are using AI on their projects. Like, and what it felt to me, it was that doesn't work. All of those guys are good developers. Like some of them I've worked on projects with them, they can deliver. So I feel like these guys are going through the same thing that I'm going through. The market's tough right now, and I kind of feel like there's a path that doesn't make sense. I see them following that path, and I see that months go by, and it's just not working. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to look into something that feels different, feels like more personalized. I already had that kind of perception from your post. At that point, I had already decided. It's really hard for someone to sort of convince me or sell me anything because my mind works kind of backwards. I'm only going in there after I'm kind of sold. On the other side, I think it's kind of the same thing. You probably just know if the person is actually willing to put in the effort, put in the money. So it doesn't feel like you're going to be trying to convince people and sell them. I don't know exactly why, but I just could see through during the entire process. Just like, okay, that's cool. I don't need to like, of course you have objections. You need to understand how things are going to work. but I was kind of already sold on like, okay, I'm ready for this. It feels like the right thing.
As you said, right? People that come in, I would like to vet them in. I like to see if people are actually serious to the process, because even if they give money, they, that doesn't solve the problem, right? I can just tell you like what
So
has happened for others, right? So do you feel like the content, the fact that you hopped on a call with me, we talked a bit, right? Like what made you like decide to take this step?
my brain operates on two very opposite sort of paths. One is super logical. It's like, do I think that does the content seem to make sense? Like, because I think there's sort of an ambiguity when you're talking about getting sort of coached by someone, because on one hand, it's not like the person is not going to pull a magic formula out of their hat, and they're going to say something that you never thought about. It's completely like, it's a thing that only that person is going to say that, because it's such a novelty. No one has ever thought on that before. So in a way, I think that for me, it's more, it falls more on the sort of mindset stuff, and the person is going to look at you and see how they're going to direct you to kind of do the stuff that you already know, and sort of pick up on some other stuff, and like build up your knowledge, your confidence, your process. So like the content of the program needs to feel that on a more technical side. I don't mean technical in terms of programming, but technical in terms of the process. It has to make sense, and you have to feel like, okay, I kind of subscribe to those ideas. I want to like go that route. But for me, there's this other side it's kind of more, how can I put it? It's more like an esoterical side. It's like, do I vibe with this person? Does it feel like this? I mean, I kind of like, I analyze everything, like for like your communication style in your posts, the way you approach the conversation, the calls, how I don't know. It kind of feels like, for me, it's not like I'm hiring a person, and it's purely a service. And I don't know. For me, it's kind of like when we work on this type of programs, you kind of become a team. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
that's kind of like the thing, I need to feel like, okay, if I get a good job, this is a huge improvement for me, but it has to be a win for you too. So it has to make sense that, okay, the fact that I can come in, if I get a good result, that is going to be proof that the process works. So for Alex, that's another win, and that's like another brick on building his thing. So does it feel like, and the person has to be humble enough to like show confidence on the process, but it's not being like, I can guarantee you this or that. And it's crazy, because like in Brazil, there's this work remote thing kind of exploded during the past few years, and it's like there's so many programs in with Brazilian developers that work for international companies, and they kind of sell the magic pill that, oh, if you have a good English level, if you can speak English, and you are not making this amount of money, you're leaving all the money on the table. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your career. I can tell you everything. Like my students, we even got crazy like stuff. People selling that you can get two jobs, three jobs at the same time. Like, this is basically fraud, but okay. So that's insane. Like, so for me, there's this other side where I need to think like, do I want to be part of this with this type of people that I was talking about? Even if I get a job, I don't want to contribute to that. Even if this guy gives me whatever black magic pill they have, I don't want to use that and get a good job. And then he's gonna say, see Pedro here. Pedro, he used my formula, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be part of that. I don't know.
Yeah, just to bring the conversation back, how long you've been working together?
I think a month. Maybe this is maybe the fifth or
Yeah.
week that we are meeting. Yeah, so it's basically a month.
What's been your like favorite part about like my help?
It kind of confirmed my impression that the most simple things would be sort of the biggest bang for your buck. Okay, now that I decided to get help, I'm just going to like trust it almost blindly. I'm just going to follow his steps. I'm usually super skeptical to that kind of thing, even though I know that behind, I know there's a deep usefulness on that stuff. Usually terrible with that things. Like I knew that I wanted to trust the process, and that's going to I'm quickly going to sort of bring my head out of the water and be able to like breathe again. And the fact that that happened, I don't know, maybe on the first call, even before I actually sat down and wrote this stuff, it kind of I don't know, I was just kind of safe. Okay, now I'm actually doing something, and this process makes sense. It might take a month, it might take 6, but I could kind of see from start that okay, I took the right direction here, and it instantly made me feel better and made me feel more confident. And even those small changes, initial changes, completely changed my confidence. Every interview that I had since we started the program was completely different from the previous one. So I could immediately realize that I feel like you have to understand as a person like hiring the program, you need to be aware that this is a long-term thing. You're trying to get better at managing your career, getting jobs, but not because you need a job right now, but because this is going to continue to happen. Like the market can grow and have a lot of opportunities. It's going to be easier to get jobs again, and then it's going to be harder again. And that's a constant thing. It's going to continue to happen. So for me, it was like, I'm starting a process that is going to help me get a 50% raise in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. But that's going to give me results right now, because if I was able to, like with no process, I was able to land a job that was close to 100K. If I just kind of get the basics together, I should be able to get to the same place I was, or even a bit better. And it's just like when we started the conversations, and then started with Ivan also, it was kind of okay. I'm just like bringing the pieces together, and I'm going to get to this place, and okay, I'm already here. So it gave me a lot of confidence, and that was like, it makes a whole like world of difference.
I really like the framing that you said. It's not really about like that, like one trick that's going to like magically change your life in like 1 hour. I feel like a lot of people, they search for the quick stuff because now we are just so used to social media, like fast dopamine, like junk food, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything around us, and it's like people want to be sold that, but you know that's not what they need. You can also mention about Ivan because you also worked with him, and you kind of mentioned only me, but now it's not only me. So, so what's been your favorite part about working with him?
I've never had someone in the position of sort of like a mentor on the technical side. And for me, like being self-taught and basically learning on the job throughout my entire career. And honestly, for me, it's not self-taught developer. I'm kind of like self-taught in life. I hate classes. I hated school. I like super early on my life, I knew that I was not going to be able to go to 5 years of college. Like that's just, it's unimaginable for me, because I need to, I can't learn something if I'm not using it right now. And like there are pros and cons to that. I think it's super beneficial if you're able to study, like for example, a doctor, he goes through so many years of prepare before he's able to even start like in the profession. And that has a huge value, but that's not me. I need to do first. I need to practice first. I need to learn stuff that I need to learn that thing to do something I'm doing right now. That's good on tech. I think that's a good thing, but it leaves a lot of gaps, because if you only learn the stuff that you need, at some point that's going to become a problem. Throughout my career, I kind of learned that I need to study some fundamentals. I need to study some system design that I haven't used yet, but sometime in the future, I'm going to need that. I need to learn it. But you kind of don't know what the gaps are. You don't know if you're going in the right direction. I always felt like I needed support, but at the same time, like you go online, you buy a course. It's not actually tailored to your needs. In the program with Ivan, it was like the first time I actually spent some time with someone looking specifically into my, like the knowledge that I have, showing me the stuff that I need to learn, give me the content, I go back, I study, and then we move on. And that's kind of felt obvious to me, that like why have I never looked for something like this before? Because it makes so much more sense than getting a 50-hour course on the advanced JavaScript, whatever. You're sitting there looking at, oh, okay, hoisting, oh, okay, and you don't understand why you're doing that. You're not building on top of like the previous thing. And with him, there was this direction. I immediately realized the most important fundamentals that I didn't have, or that I had the sort of empirical knowledge, but I didn't have the fundamentals, the theory behind those. He pointed me in the direction, told me, you study this, you study that. And that was crazy also, because the same effect that working with you had on screening calls, on hiring manager interviews, working with Ivan had on the tech interviews, because it kind of solves those first 10 minutes in a way that it just changes the rest of the interview. After I started working with Ivan, those first questions, I was able to kind of go through them in a way that the rest of the interview, it doesn't feel like the person is testing you. It feels like they are trying to get to know you. So you move from those quiz interviews where people ask, do you know this? Do you know that? What is this? What is that? They stop trying to test you to see if you have specific knowledge on stuff, and they are more interested on what does this guy know. And that's crazy. And I think like my imposter syndrome a lot come from the fact that I was always super on the practical side. I've been able to accomplish a lot with technologies that I actually didn't know how they work. It's not like if you can explain, I don't know, how the micro task queue and the macro task, and if you don't remember those stuff, or if you never looked into it, it doesn't mean that you're going to write bad code or you cannot create an API. But it does make a big difference, because it shows that you're willing to put a little bit of extra effort in building those fundamentals. So, and that's something, honestly, I kind of neglected for so long. And then studying this stuff and even joining the program for me was like taking some steps back and, okay, let's build this base, and because I know that I have the building on top of that, but if I don't build the first layer, it's always going to feel like if it falls, everything's going to fall. So
what are some of the results that you've achieved?
I've went to 3 hiring processes during this month, and I passed them all. A big shift for me, because it's not like, oh, I hope they approve me. It just changes. You start to kind of, okay, that was an interesting process. I was able to answer all their questions. I had experience with the stuff that they asked about. I was able to answer all the technical questions. If they don't approve me, that's fine, but it's not because I'm lacking the knowledge. Maybe it's something else that I still don't know what it is. I need to figure out, but maybe it's also sometimes it's there's someone else that are more prepared, or
something else out of your control in that.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of like passed all of them, and you also got an offer, right?
Yeah, that was like crazy. I got an offer on I think it was the 4th week.
It's even the 3rd one.
Yeah, it was like, it's crazy. It was like
Okay, amazing. To just mention, so everybody can have the context. You're from Brazil, right? You got a remote job in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. The position is like $7,800 US dollars per month. So it's some, I think it's 93 or 94,000 a year with 3 weeks of PTO. That's actually makes it more than the previous one that I had, which was like around 98K with no PTO at all. So if I took like 3 weeks vacation, my yearly compensation was lower than this 94 now. But yeah.
Would you recommend me to a friend, and why?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I definitely would. And I think that honestly, I feel like this type of interaction, one-on-one interaction, is something that I feel like having a mentor on something. It's something I had never done before. And for me now, it kind of clicked that it's obvious. The fastest path to get to where you want to be is talking to a person that's been through that and can just give you direction. The program just worked for me, like almost immediately. I would definitely recommend you, yeah. And also like the feedback loops. After you decide to trust a person, constantly meeting with them and reviewing the stuff, it's not a magic pill. So it's not like we join a call, you gave me a formula, apply the formula, and that's it. It's that thing like knowing the path is not walking the path. Even if I knew exactly what I needed to do, if you gave me an ebook instead of the calls and in the actual process, it doesn't work the same. And that's what clicked to me, that like having a mentor makes such a big difference.
Thank you for like the final words. It's amazing.